So I know for me, the something that was meant to break me, I feel like actually just set me free. And I think a lot of people struggle to look at their downfalls as that. And so I'm hopeful that us talking in here, we will get to do that.
So I didn't ask for anyone. Legitimately was like, what can I fit in my car with my dog and how can I get to Arizona in 10 days? I was going to sell everything. I was like, I don't need anything. I don't even have a place to live. I was just going to do it.
She's like, "Cassie, you should come on a trip with me and my family." And I was like, "I guess if I have to." And I don't know what it was about that weekend, but it was just so wholesome and I felt so whole. And like, what is this? Like I no longer was the victim. It was like this clarity.
Three women, three paths, one mission to prove that your story is not your limitation, to guide you towards your muchness, to explore the unfiltered truths, and to challenge every bit of belief that built your mask. This is Go Be Too Much, the unapologetic space for the bold, the healing, and the unfinished, where we decide what's too much was always meant for more. So let's chat. Maybe we'll fuck around and find out just how unmissable we all are.
I'm MJ and I'm your host for Go Be Too Much. And this is Casi and Mandy co-hosting with me. So if you've ever been told that you're too much, too loud, too emotional, too intense, or too ambitious, yeah, same. But here we are. We're ready to talk. We're ready to chat. And we want to break out the stigma that being too much was ever wrong and that really we're all just enough. So for tonight, I wanted to share a little bit about how I came to realize that being too much was causing issues for me. I have heard this statement throughout life and I never really gave too much attention to it, at least cognitively. Apparently, though, my whole persona was built on it, as these ladies also would agree. They probably were never really consciously aware of it. And I think that as we go through life, we are constantly trying to find ourselves, better ourselves. And at some point, I know for me, I realized that I had lost myself in ways that I didn't even know was possible. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people can resonate with different times in their lives, realizing the person that they're becoming is somebody they didn't think that they would be, that they had to become somebody they didn't know that they were even capable of being. And these things aren't always negative. Sometimes I think, who we amount up to be, it ends up being somebody like this. I didn't think I was going to be somebody who ran a business, who ran a podcast, things like that. And I love that for me. I love that this is something I'm doing. I don't think many people will be surprised that I'm doing something like this. But for me to say that this was a person that I thought I would become wasn't on my radar. And so it was 2 years ago that I had gotten a divorce. And it was in that separation that I really came to do some soul searching, do some shadow working, do all the things to kind of identify that I didn't know who I was anymore. In all of that time, I had become a wife and a mom, and I had moved. I got further into my career with veterans. And even though I was still a daughter and a friend in many aspects, I just wasn't me anymore. And I needed a hard look to say, okay, how am I not authentically living anymore? And why am I not authentically living it anymore? And what I think the hardest thing of it is realizing just how far back it actually went, that it was not just in that of my marriage and in becoming a mom that those things all changed, and that it was further back even where I slowly started to lose those parts of me that made me me. And so I value now those things a lot differently. And I very much look at what has happened in my life has always been lessons and grateful. I'm a rare weirdo breed that, is not like, I wish I could go back and do that crap again and do it different, because the truth is I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And I'm headed now more than ever where I'm supposed to be going. So I know for me that something that was meant to break me, I feel like actually just set me free. And I think a lot of people struggle to look at their downfalls as that. And so I'm hopeful that us talking in here, we will get to do that. So I want now for Mandy to maybe share a little bit about downfalls that have actually set her free.
Yeah, no pressure. I love following Mary and Cassie on these things.
But your stories are good. Shush.
I
Go be
I
too much,
just
woman.
I just sit here and I listen so attentively and catch myself very often judging my internal thoughts, my internal dialogue. But like, fuck, I don't want to go after Mary. I was like, fuck, I don't want to go after Mary. Like, I can't follow that. Like, what the hell? Like, nothing. I do the fun thing that we all do. Like I haven't had those moments. I haven't had earth shattering moments because I've actively avoided all major fucking commitments of anything in my life. I don't want kids. I don't want marriage. I do not pursue serious relationships. I'm like, none of those moments have rocked my world. And I'm just out here existing. I guess when I remember very distinctively in grad school looking for jobs and applying, right? We're going to graduate. We've got to have a job because what? I just spent all these years, all this money, and I've got my little degree that says I know the things. And I'm like, I'm never going to leave my hometown. I want to be a high school social worker here and I'm going to be with the football coach and we're going to have our Friday night lights moment. And that was what I wanted. I wanted to stay in my hometown. I wanted to be with my family. I wanted to do the things and never leave. And then I had an instance where I'm like, nope, never again. Felt like shitting where you eat. And my world's just kind of mixing a little bit too much at my internship at the time. And that was the first time I'd ever considered leaving my hometown and like getting out and going to do anything anywhere else. So I started pursuing jobs a little bit further out and I got one. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Working for DCS as a social worker, those who know. Okay. So little baby social worker me went and did my stint working for DCS in Kansas City, which was only 2 hours west of my hometown. But every weekend I'm coming home, every event I'm coming home, every single thing family oriented, I am coming home and I'm not creating roots for myself. I'm not creating routines for myself. I don't get a chance to do the things. I pivoted 2 hours east from my hometown and went to St. Louis, same thing, still coming home every weekend, still up my family's ass, still making myself available for way too much, bending over backwards until I was rage applying for jobs at one point. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to apply everywhere. I don't care. No one's going to respond. Just let me see. I just want to see. And Arizona flag number one was like, hey, you just applied 22 minutes ago. We want to interview you in an hour. And so I did. I took an interview from my bathtub at the time. Um,
That's great.
basically, yeah, I was like, basically, my entire family was on a family trip that I refused to go on because I'm a diva and I don't fucking camp. And I refused. And I remember that being a big issue in my family because it was one of the first times that I was like, no, thank you. I don't want to. And then I accepted a job while they were all gone. And they got back and I got to tell them, hey, I'm moving to Arizona in 10 days. And I did not ask for not one single ounce of help. I remember actually that started a fight between my mom and I because she prior to this move was sick of moving me, told me, don't ever ask for help again. You better be married or you better be able to afford a mover the next time you move. So that was what resonated in my head. So I did not ask for help. That's a theme of my life, not asking for help. 1, 2, not accepting help. So I didn't ask for anyone. Legitimately was like, what can I fit in my car with my dog and how can I get to Arizona in 10 days? I was going to sell everything. I was like, I don't need anything. I don't even have a place to live. I was just going to do it. And it felt fucking wild to say that. And I didn't end up selling my stuff. Ended up, getting some stuff here and moving. And that was a whole experience in itself. And I think that's probably my biggest pivotal moment in terms of like realizing when things needed to change because I got out of my home, not only my hometown, but my home state. I am in a completely different environment in so many ways. And I had to learn new routines. I had to learn how to be by myself all the time. I had to learn what the fuck do I want to do on a weekend if I'm not committed to a family event, which in a family of my size is every single weekend, every single weekend. What do I do with so much downtime? What are my hobbies? What do I like to eat? What snacks do I want in the house? And I just had to do everything by myself, including making friends as an adult, including figuring
Horseshit.
out it's horseshit, figuring out how to
I'm
pay the
still trying
bills.
to figure that part out.
In my 30s, and I have no idea how to do that yet.
Exactly. But you move away from everything you ever known. You got to do some shit different. You got to go try that weird class. You got to go like work somewhere extra or whatever. You got to do the things. And I just begrudgingly started doing the things and had to like open up to people and had to make friends and be vulnerable and like do new things because I knew literally no one. I knew no one. I had nothing. I moved to Arizona with 10 days notice. My dog and I had the belief that it was just a dry heat. It's a lie. It's not a
You
dry
took a
heat.
leap of faith on yourself, and it has been great for you. Even with all the weird things, it's
Mhm.
been really good.
It has. It has. And I think that that's, I talk about listening to Mary and she's like, this is when it changed and this is what I noticed about myself and this is how it went. And I'm like, I don't know none of that shit. I'm still like, what did you say? Healing, not healed?
Healed and healing.
Healed and healing. Like I still am trying to figure out who the fuck I am at 36 and where I'm headed and who I want to be. I could probably tell you more of who I'm not and what I don't want than who I want to be and where I'm headed. But that's the joy of moving away from your hometown and taking a job that you knew nothing about and then continuing to do jobs you know nothing about just for like the plot and the fun of it. So most of my life has been defined through careers or success in terms of school, career, jobs, because that has been something that is just the most consistent and prevalent in my life. But also unfucking my brain around my worth is tied to production in terms of my profession, in terms of being a professional person, in terms of working hard and what that looks like. Because so much of my worth has always been tied up into that, being a good student, being a good employee, working hard and all of the things. And now I'm just kind of at a point like, I don't want to. I want to, but I don't want to. Not that hard, not that much. So sweating it out in Arizona, I feel like that was my aha moment, literally taking a leap of faith into the goddamn desert and just hoping it works, hoping it works. And it did.
Well, and I probably, again, I am a weirdo with, knowing all these points and pivotal moments because, I've only been doing it all my life, redefining myself every so often with big pivotal life events.
Just block that shit out, move
I
forward.
mean, I could tone it down a little bit on the life excitement.
I
Never.
feel that.
No.
God.
So Cassie, what about you? Have you only really had those one big moments, or have you been breaking it down all this time and redefining yourself many times?
Well, for starters, there is Cassie and there's Cassandra. And for those that don't know, my legal name is Cassandra, but I've gone by Cassie my whole life. But I like to say that my 20s was run by Cassandra, and she's a real snatch. She's a real bitch. So it's always funny when they're like, they're lucky they met Cassie and not Cassandra, because there's like moments in my life where like things have changed, but like as an adult, I would probably say that I always had the victim mentality, like everything. Like, why are you doing this to me? Why is this happening to me? Why? One moment that I remember is 2017. I had just gone to Ireland by myself for 10 days. I was like, I'm going to do this shit. Any woman that
Period.
is, or anybody who's listening and fears traveling by themselves, just go fucking do it. It's the best thing you'll ever do. And I did that, and I met this girl during softball, and she's like, "You've been to Ireland? I went to Ireland." And I was like, "We're friends." And she like saw something in me, and she's like, "Cassie, you should come to church with me." And I was like, "I don't like Jesus. I'm good. He has no place for me. Thank you." And then like a couple months later, it was Labor Day weekend, So right around this time in 2017, where she's like, Cassie, you should come on a trip with me and my family. And I was like, I guess if I have to. And I don't know what it was about that weekend, but it was just so wholesome and I felt so whole. And like, what is this? Like I no longer was the victim. It was like this clarity moment. And I ended up going to church with her that next Sunday. I asked her, I was like, can I go to church with you? Like, is that okay? She's like, absolutely. She'd only been asking me for 6 months at this. And I remember that being a pivotal thing because I finally tried to believe in something other than myself. And, I'm not perfect by any means. None of us are. But that was one thing where I finally was like, okay, Cassie, stop being the victim. Like, how can we make these things better? And then the following year, I bought myself a house. And so it was like, holy crap. Like, I no longer am the victim. I just bought myself a house by myself. I was like, I didn't need anybody to do it. I did it all on my own. And then segue, get into a terrible relationship because I hadn't learned that part yet. And after that relationship, in 2020 during COVID, go figure, I was like, my ass needs some therapy. Here's my next pivotal moment. Like, I was like, I'm going to find a therapist and figure out what is wrong. Like, what is wrong with me? Because that's what we all think. We're like, what is wrong with me? Right. And so I went to therapy and I'm talking to my therapist and he's like, I think you need EMDR. And I was like, what is that? Like, and he's like, you have to relive these things. I'm like, why the fuck would I want to relive my
Fuck you.
trauma?
No, thank you.
I'm like, explain to me how this is beneficial because I already been there. I don't want to fucking go back.
For people who don't know, EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization reprocessing. Look it up.
Yes, I think everyone should try it because it was the most, to this day, most eye-opening thing that has ever happened. And I won't go into details yet, but I had talked to my therapist about a lot of things. And once we did EMDR, he was like, he asked me questions about things I had never ever mentioned. And I was like, how do you know those things? And he's like, because of what you just experienced. And I was like, holy cow. And it just made me rethink my whole entire life and how I kept putting myself in those situations because that was what I was used to. And so that makes me think of my dad, bless him and his Bruceisms. His name's Bruce, so we call him Bruceisms. I remember I was like, I'm moving to Denver because fuck this place. And he's like, Cassie, you could move to Denver, but you're going to be the same exact person down there and you're going to attract the same exact people. He's like, so why don't you get your shit together here and then you can move? And so those just kept coming back to me and I was like, holy crap, like I've got to change. So I did what any crazy person would do, and I went to therapy every week for 6 months straight. My therapist told me I only had to go once a month. I was like, nah, bro, I'm fucked up. We got to go once a week. It was the best thing I have ever done. And since then, I have opened my heart to learning even more and being more open and receptive to everybody and being a sponge and just even though I might think my life's, got its ups and downs, I can learn from everybody. That's why I love learning from both of you. You guys have had different life experiences than me, but at the same time, as, people listen to this, we really aren't that different. But at the moment, we always think we are. And so I just think that is super cool. And my last topic of that before I segue it back to Mary is I know it's not always an option, but get out of your damn hometown.
Yeah.
I will say that I did not think that was a thing until three years ago when I finally did. And holy shit. You have to you have to reinvent yourself. You have to survive on your own because you know nobody. You know nothing. You don't even know what street you're on. 3 years down the road, I'm like, how did I get lost in that place? It's literally a square. You have to rely on yourself and you have to trust yourself knowing that you can do it. And I think that's the biggest thing. And when you move out of your hometown, you have to learn to trust yourself and believe that you can do it. And I know, Mandy, you move into Phoenix. Mary, you move into Vegas. Me move into Salt Lake. There are three totally different places, except for we all live in the fucking desert. but
Dumb.
I would say that since we've all moved, we have evolved into this new person that most people probably don't even recognize anymore. And we're still learning. Like I still fuck a lot of things up. I try not to, but but we're learning, right? So with that, I'll just go back to Mary on whatever you want to be next.
Well, I agree with you. I think the moving out of the hometown, right? But I actually first moved out of my hometown at 18 when I went to college in Laramie, which was 4 hours away. So yeah, sure, same state, but totally different town. Didn't have my parents, things like that, right? And I I kid you not, I was the only person that went to college and the first weekend did not go back home. I actually didn't go back home for 3 months after I left because
Mhm.
I was like, I'm out. Don't send me back. Right.
It's a
And it
trap.
actually took me talking to my mom on the phone about like my mood being weird and stuff. And she's like, do you think you're homesick? And I'm like, I mean, I guess I don't know. Like maybe she's like, why
What
don't you
is
come
that?
home this weekend? And I was
No.
like, all right. So the first time I went home wasn't even because I could identify that that's what I needed, because that place is not what I need. But it was just, So then after I lived there for 6 years, I think, then I went to Missouri all on my little lonesome, lived in an apartment by myself. This was definitely a big change because I didn't have anybody around there. My parents weren't coming down for football every other weekend, things like that. And met Mandy,
You
met
had
another girl,
assholes
Kate.
judging you because you were from
Right.
Wyoming.
People
Wyoming.
always judging, right? So, that's I spent my whole life. Again, I'm branding myself based on being who I am and what that has been for all this time. And then from there, damn Wyoming pulled me back because it was the only place that would give me a job after grad school. But it wasn't my hometown until my
It was.
ex-husband wanted to, yeah, until it was. And that should have been the red flag, right? That was the red flag.
I got to see you more, so I mean, whatever.
You did, and it was good. And I'm
Straight
glad
up
that I did.
bullshit.
Right.
You
Try
got
to
to
get
pick
me
what
out.
side of the screen you want to be on, Mary.
So, and then,
Uh,
then after doing that for a hot minute, here I am in Vegas, someplace that I had been talking about since I was 16 that I would live someday in the suburbs of. And so it's just a powerful thing what our minds, when we say things and put things out there. And so tapping that into what you were talking about, I think is very important, Cassie, because you mentioned not looking at yourself like a victim anymore. And there is such a stigma around that word alone. And not only that, there's an even bigger stigma with us saying that we're the problem. And I can tell you that one of the things that I work on a lot with people in therapy is identifying what is the problem, what is going on. And yes, other people do wrong things and other people have a role, but so do we. And people don't want to acknowledge that for many reasons. But a big one is because we think if we do, then we don't get to be the victim. We're not the one who's wronged. And the truth is, just because they did something that was maybe more wrong or this or that, doesn't mean that you still didn't play a role in it and that you still didn't have, there wasn't still something there. And so it is figuring out what is it about us that keeps us choosing these things. It's the same shit, different day. It's the same guy, different body. It's the same state, different weather. But it comes back to us. And so many people don't want to do that. They don't want to do that accountability because if
accountability.
they do
Mhm.
that, then they aren't the victim. And again, that word, it can have lots of meaning.
I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned through therapy is those are my protective factors. A lot of times how I respond and how I show up in relationships and where I need to take some accountability, but also have some compassion for myself and realize that that version of me was trying to survive in that part of my life. And now I have responses that are not helpful to me in this stage of my life. But at one
Mhm.
point, that was my protective factor. That is what kept me safe. That is what made me be able to wake up, go through the day, go through the whatever that life thing was. And now at this point in my life where things are, for the most part, peaceful and balanced, the second something good happens, Cassie, you were sharing about this earlier, I
Mhm.
freak the fuck out. I freaked the fuck out because I don't deserve that. I didn't earn that. I shouldn't, like, I can't feel good with this because ew, gross. What is that?
Or when is
Because,
it going to go away?
or
Why
when
are
is
you
it,
being
yeah,
so nice?
when is it going to go
When's
away?
the other
What do you
shoe
want?
gonna fall? Yeah.
What do you want? What are you getting out of this? So recognizing that is me, that's that part of me showing up that I have to constantly have a talk with, have a conversation, and tell that hoe to have several seats over there, because even if this person, place, or thing, situation fucks me over, that's going to be more about them than it is about me. And I can pivot. Like Casi said, you can do it. You can pick yourself up and move the fuck on. But you also have to allow nice things to happen. You have to allow goodness, kindness, softness in. You don't have to be a little prickly pear all the goddamn time.
I was going to read that quote that I had sent the girls earlier before we started this podcast. And I was like, how fitting for what we were going to talk about. And it said, I heard a therapist say this and it changed my thinking. You're not healing to be able to handle trauma, pain, anxiety, depression. You're used to those. You're healing to be able to accept and handle joy, to accept happiness back into your life.
That part.
Right.
And it is so hard, right? Because you wait for the other shoe to fall. You wait for like, I'm not good enough. Well, why aren't you good enough? That starts with the self healing. Like, because why is it that I could look at both of you and be like, you are some bomb ass, badass bitches. Like, let's fucking go. But then I'm like, oh, I'm not that pretty. I really wish that my hair was longer. Like, why do we self sabotage ourselves? Like, why is it I could be a girl's biggest hype girl, but like when it comes to myself, I'm just like, I wish my boobs were bigger. And Mandy's like, yeah, I'll give you some.
Yeah, literally.
Like, like,
Fuck.
why is that? Like, why do we self sabotage? Like, I think learning
Go
that
ahead. I was going to say something.
no, I was just gonna say, I was like, I feel like we need to be nicer to ourselves. Wake up with those affirmations and be like, yeah, I'm
Shut the-
badass bitch. Like, I can do this.
Well, I mean, isn't it what movie? Isn't it Mean Girls or something when they talk about like if you're calling yourself those things, if you're saying those things, you're giving everybody else the right to do it too, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, why do I get to get mad that somebody is saying that I do too much? Yet I'm over here saying I do too much, right? And it's like, or I wish my hair was like that. And it's like, somebody's commenting about my, and so I think part of it is we talk that way because we are giving other people the permission then, or kind of like humor, for using it to say like, well, if I can say it about me, then it won't matter if other people say it about me. And that's not true. Like, it still matters.
You touched on something.
Well,
I wanted to say the self-sabotaging, if I say it first, they can't, like, I own it. For much of my life, the self-deprecating humor, I'm like, I'm going to make fun of myself, like, because I know these flaws about myself and I'm owning it. Like, you can't hurt my feelings. And if I do it first, then that takes the power away from you. But that absolutely is not true. That absolutely is not what it ends up doing. It just, like, if you asked me to say something nice about myself, I could have vomited in therapy last night listening to my therapist. Like, what would you tell teenage you? Or like, what does teenage you? And bleh. But then I go to school every day and I work with teenagers who are teenagers and just mean to themselves. And, these two almost got in a fight in first hour because this one called this one fat and this one commented on this one's dead mom. Talked to each of them separately. They said the same thing, different font. They're both the same little human feeling the same way, going at it with each other instead of just saying like, that hurt me, or like, I am upset because, I'm just like, God, being a human is hard. To our listeners with ADHD,
Yeah.
you will
feel you.
see 3 different squirrels in this group chat, and
you'll be tracking.
sometimes they're all in the yard, and sometimes one's in the tree, and sometimes one's over there begging for a nut, and we're all doing our best.
So it's funny you say that because I have this cup here that Mary got me. And it says, I came, I saw, I forgot what I was doing. I went back, I got distracted and have no idea what's going on. Is this my cup? I have to pee. So fitting.
So the next time you see us all, I think we'll dive deep into you don't fucking know us anymore, and just go be all that you are meant to be.
Bye.